In this video, I'm going to tell you how to get things done in your hobby by keeping quiet. Do you find the end of the year difficult, whether with, your hobby or just in general? I know I do. I mean, I'm not a big fan of the holidays, but I'm not talking about the holidays even so much. It's just like this weird sort of end of the year, now we're starting a new thing. With the end of the year and the beginning of a new one, we're generally trained by society to look back on this kind of weird, arbitrary 12 months. And I understand that the year is not arbitrary because we go around the sun, but where it starts and where it ends, that's a little arbitrary and doesn't really matter. But we still have a tendency to hit that goal of December 31st and look back at the previous year, and then we start to look forward to the next one as opposed to doing it, say, in May or, on October 12th or something like that. Last year, I made a video about all the stuff that I painted in 2001, which you can check out here. Pachow. Now, I'm not doing that this year. And there's reasons, but whatever. But sometimes you do look back at your hobby output for the last year, like I did in that video, and like I'm not doing in this year, and you're happy. And then sometimes you're not. And maybe that's a subject for another video, frankly, about being kind to yourself for your output or lack thereof, potentially, in the hobby. Did you get as many minis painted as you wanted to? Did you play as many games as you wanted to? Stuff like that. But what this video is about is one way to help yourself out now versus trying to help yourself out later. And you do that by keeping some things to yourself. I'll explain. I know we live in a society these days that's all about sharing and posting and putting stuff out, all that. Post your goals out on social media, or chatting with people on message boards or Discords, all that kind of different stuff. It's a thing that, as a society, we all kind of do a lot. I'm a content creator. I know exactly, what I'm talking about here. And we usually talk about things that we're gonna do to get affirmation, right? I'm gonna paint a new army this year. I'm gonna build a gaming table. I'm gonna design a new game, stuff like that. And many folks think that telling people about their goals will help them to complete those goals and keep them accountable. However, scientific studies have shown that this is exactly the opposite. Talking about your goal won't help it to succeed at all. Actually, the more folks you tell about the thing that you're going to do, the less likely that you'll succeed. I knew that I had heard this somewhere once before, but I couldn't remember exactly where. So luckily, a quick Google search brought me to an excellent article by Dr. Peter M. Vishton, PhD, from William and Mary, titled the First Rule for Accomplishing Goals: Don't Tell Anyone About Them. And then it's got like a slightly ominous subtitle. It's good to brag about your goals if you don't want to achieve them. In the article, he talks about something called the intention-behavior gap, which is the difference between what we're planning on doing, our goals and stuff like that, and what we actually do, what we actually get done. And it seems that from all the surveys and whatnot in the studies that he cites in the article, that announcing your goals seems to widen that gap. But why? Why doesn't encouragement from your friends and peers telling you, yeah, you can do it, actually help? Well, as we are predominantly made up of fluids, it seems to be chemical. When we decide to do something, whatever it might be, maybe we're going to learn to sculpt miniatures, we're going to start 3D printing, or I don't know, maybe clean one's basement. But then we actually complete that goal. The brain kicks out a neurotransmitter called dopamine into one of the pleasure centers in your brain. And your brain and you like dopamine. So when you set a goal for yourself, your brain prepares for the eventual chemical jolt of dopamine. And when you do succeed at this actual goal, you get the dope. Unless you kind of jump ahead by just telling people that you're going to do it, right? The reason why telling people about your goal is a problem is that when they give you positive support, you get a little bit of that sense of accomplishment and that pleasurable dopamine boost. And you get it right now without actually doing the thing. Now, it's not as much of a boost as actually doing the thing and succeeding. That will give you much more of a dopamine boost. But it took frankly, almost no work at all other than coming up with the idea and telling people. And you get that little dopamine, hit right now. So let's say if you get 1 dopamines for coming up with a goal and succeeding at it, but you get 0.1 for telling a friend. If you just keep telling a bunch of friends, eventually over time, you're going to get sort of the same amount. Now, it's not, 1-to-1, but you see what I'm saying. It's a cheat, right? And it reduces your actual drive to reach your goal because every person that you tell gives you a little bit more of that sweet, sweet dopamine. Admittedly, there are people that you can tell about your goal, your hobby goal, that will actually help you to succeed. Experts with good advice. In our case, that might be a friend of yours that's some sort of pro painter or very good painter who's been working a lot longer on this than you have, let's say. Or potentially some sort of winning tournament player who's also a friend of yours who can give you all kinds of advice about how to win tournaments if that's your goal. It depends on the goal. And telling those folks can benefit in ways that counteract the issues that you get with telling people about your goal. You tell a certain amount of people about your goal and you get those little dopamine things, which then means you're less likely to actually do the thing, but you do get more advice that actually helps you to do the thing because those people are specifically designed kind of to help you with that advice. Whereas just telling your friends and folks and your parents or whatever that you're going to do this, that might not necessarily help. In general, the more people that you tell about what you plan to do, it's less likely that you will. For me personally, and I'm not a fancy PhD from William and Mary, there's another issue as well, and that is if I announce a goal that I have before I obviously reach the succeeding of that goal, and then sometime later, someone asks me how that goal is going, there is like a weird, small, dumb part of my brain that feels bad, because I haven't completed the goal, and the person's like, hey, and that reminds me, oh yeah, you didn't, succeed, you haven't finished that thing or whatever, and I understand that this was not the question asker's intent to bum me out, right? Like there was no malice there. It's just curiosity of, hey, how's that going? But in my mind, no matter what kind of workload or other things have come up to block, me from hitting that goal, and those things are all valid, it still just sort of bothers me. And you may be the same as well. Therefore, I'm going to try, going forward, to not announce my goals and plans for my hobby. And also, to some degree for this channel as well, but we'll see how it goes. There's certain things you have to announce, but there's a lot of things you don't. Vince and I never really talk much about the game that we're going to come out with until it comes out, and that's kind of by design, and it sort of follows along with this. I believe there will be some long-term benefit for it, I think, for at least for me. I suggest you might want to try it as well. Make plans, have goals, absolutely, that's super important. But try keeping them to yourself, Don't announce them, don't put them out there and all that kind of stuff. But then you can surprise your friends and your family and your followers or whatever with your completed goals when you complete them. And then you get that big hit of dopamine. You'll deserve it. I hope this video helps you, especially in completing your hobby goals. You have to kind of fight against your brain to sometimes do it, but I think that the fight is worth it. And hopefully this will help you complete those hobby goals or maybe just life goals in general. If you liked this video, hitting the like button below, which is very little of a goal at all, it's very easy for you to do. It also helps out the channel a whole bunch. And if you haven't yet, think about hitting that subscribe button too. Thanks for watching.